Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my entitled boss at work steals my tips and refuses to pay me. She is a complete liar and calls the police on me when I threaten to quit the job. I get epic revenge. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the stories. Now, we have all heard about crazy entitled Karen customers, but where are my people with the entitled Karen bosses? I swear, working for a Karen might be a lot worse than dealing with one as a customer. However, dealing with a Karen boss while dealing with picky customers in the restaurant industry? That is the absolute worst. I would not recommend. Anyways, before I get into the story of my experience with this god-awful boss, let me give you a little backstory. So, during my time in college, which was just a few years ago, I worked at this local mom and pop pizza shop. We sold pizza, sandwiches and salads. It was a local mom and pop storefront, and I have to say the actual owners of the place were always very lovely. They were in their 50s and opened up their restaurant about a year or so before they wanted to retire. They had wanted a little project to keep them busy during retirement and also wanted something to pass on to their children. Like I said, they were really sweet and it seemed that they did everything with family in mind. The new manager they hired though was a big issue. She was a complete Karen, like one of the worst Karens I've ever encountered. See, when they opened the restaurant, they were still working their regular jobs, so they hired a manager to actually run the place and they would come down every so often and check in. When I first got hired, everything was great. I will say I did end up making a few friends there with the other staff. The crew was great and the owners were great and Karen seemed great until she didn't. So a couple of months into this little pizza shop job, our POS systems were having an update. Each employee had a special PIN number that they used to clock in and out of the POS, and after this update we had to reset our PIN numbers. I don't know, it seemed like the technology was a little bit outdated. Anyways, after I went to work the next day and tried to reset my PIN number, it would not let me. I had brought this to Karen's attention and she had said that it was a system error and they had already put in a ticket to fix it. But in the meantime to just write down the hours I was working and she would enter them in the system later. Okay, no problem. Until almost 2 weeks had gone by and I was still not able to fix my new clock-in PIN number. Luckily for me though, I was able to keep track of my hours on my phone. So when my paycheck came in and it looked like I barely worked, I was freaking out. I was in college and I needed whatever I could get. The day after I worked and Karen was off, but one of the shift leaders was there. I brought this up to her and she said that her check was not even $100 when it should have been over $1,000. Apparently this had happened to several of us, so of course we messaged Karen wanting to know what was up. Maybe it was an issue with the POS, but if she was adding our hours in the system, then it should not have been a problem. And this is where the entitlement kicks in. So a couple of days had gone by and those who were missing most or part of their checks had not received their money. So when the owners came in, we brought this to their attention. The issue was fixed immediately as somewhere in the system our correct hours were added, but in the payroll side of the system they were not showing. Except guess who did have a full paycheck? At first I wanted to chalk it up to just a system error, but it was too suspicious. And yes, that's right, it was Karen who got a full paycheck. And this is where things start getting a little fishy. Each day we collected cash tips. Now, we were a small business, so by the time we all split the tips, we averaged about $6 to $10 each of us per day. We did get credit card tips though as well, so that was nice. One day I was getting ready to clock out and asked Karen for my tips. She said, "Oh, sorry, there were no tips today." Which of course was really odd. We always had at least $6 in tips, so why all of a sudden we did not have any tips? I didn't say anything, but this is when I knew Karen was unsure. So I started talking with the shift leader. She is actually one of the close friends I made, and she said she saw Karen taking tips out of the jar the other day. She said that at first she did not think anything of it because sometimes Karen would take out the tips before the night shift came out and distribute them before we left. However, my friend said she never got tips that day, so she knew Karen had to steal them because she saw her taking them from the jar. So we started doing some snooping around and well, one day she left the office door open when she went to run the bank deposit and we snuck in. On the computer she had our time cards up, except we could see where she had adjusted them. We could see what the adjusted hours were versus the actual hours we worked were, and let's just say the adjusted hours were a lot less than what we actually worked. She was essentially taking hours away from us. Because my friend was a shift leader, she knew a little bit more about what was on the screen than I did, and she said it looked like all those hours that she had taken away from our checks she had added to hers. Essentially, nothing really looked funky in the system because of the overall hours adjusted matched what we were clocking in as. It's a little bit confusing, but basically, we were almost working for free. So that day we took pictures so that we had proof that she was stealing our tips and adjusting our time cards. Adding to that, we reported her to the labor board and stopped showing up to work. When she found out, she sent out a nasty string of text messages to all of us. It was about half of the crew that originally walked out, saying how disgusting we were for trying to throw her under the bus and that we were bad employees anyway. Well, if we were bad employees anyways, why would you be freaking out? Not only that, but she tried to file a police report against me and my coworker for hacking the computer and editing the time cards. Obviously, they could not prove it or find anything that made us look suspicious because, well, we did not do it. In the end, I felt really bad for the owners because the business did end up getting shut down. The owners had actually mailed all of us gift cards of $250 each, which probably was not enough for people missing more wages than I had been, but I knew what it was probably all they could afford. I would like to think that they were just newbies who had no idea what they were doing or who they were trusting, but you can never be sure though. They did send us an apology letter, so anyways, moral of the story is, do not ever let yourself work for free. Even if it is for $6. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I'm curious, if any of you work in the service industry, what amount of tips do you get on average per day? I remember the last time I was in the United States, maybe in 2015 I think, we gave like 10 or 15% tips. Which, at least for me, coming from Europe, that was quite a lot already. Anyway, let me know in the comments, and now let's continue with the stories. This one is titled, An Entitled Douche Gets Shut Down. Posted by user Snickerdoodle on r/Ripe Stories, which is our own subreddit by the way. Hey Ripe fans, so this happened about 20 years ago. I was working customer service desk at a TJ Maxx type store, so an off-price retail store. We used to get a lot of entitled customers in, and while they were a trip to deal with, I could get most of them to leave happy with little fuss. Now, there was this one older guy named Alan. This guy was so entitled that he would park his sports car across 3 parking spots. Yeah, that kind of entitled. That's not all of it though. I had seen this guy make hardened managers of 30 years shake in their boots. He had to make a scene every time he was in the store. I got tired of it, and one day he came in and I was working counter doing returns and layaway. I called back to the office and let the manager who dealt with him last time and he had made crying know that he was in the store. Her voice got shaky and asked if I needed her help up there. I told her no, I got this. She came up anyways and stood inside our layaway room, which was right off customer service desk at the time. He then comes storming up and tries to muscle his way in front of a customer who was waiting on a price check. I looked him straight in the eye and glared, telling him, "Adam, I'm with another customer." Now, I'm not an imposing figure guy. I was in my early to mid-20s, 5'10", and weighed about 160 pounds. I am also very soft-spoken, I don't have a loud voice and rarely ever raise it. He seems taken aback for a moment, probably between the glare and me knowing his actual first name. He quiets down and ends up waiting for a moment, but I can see his entitlement is starting to boil like a tea kettle. When it was his turn, he slams a $20 pair of shoes on the counter and demands a discount on them because there is a tiny black scuff on them from someone trying them on. I told him I could take 10% off, so $2. His anger came to a point. He started trying to dress me down, saying that this was outrageous, that our prices are so high and our merchandise was so cheaply made. When he gets done spouting off his nonsense, I say in a raised but even toned voice while giving him my best glare, the one that coworkers called my Neo glare. You know, the one that Neo gives the other agents in the original Matrix movie after he kills Hugo Weaving's agent Smith. I look him dead in the eye. Alan, we are an off-price retail store, meaning our merchandise is already 50 to 60% off what you would pay in the big name stores normally. You're getting a good deal by getting a $50 to $60 pair of shoes for 18 bucks. However, if you want a better deal than this, there's a Salvation Army shop down the street. He gets this deer in the headlight look and starts gasping like a landed fish. He shakily leaves the shoes on the counter and slowly makes his way out of the store. I leave the counter feeling slightly bad because he looked like he was about to have a heart attack. I watched him get into his car and just sit for a second before putting his car in drive and leaving, rather than his usual peeling out of the parking lot. Wow, I jump, being so focused on what had happened and making sure he was gone that I had not heard the manager walk up behind me and looking over my shoulder. I then look around and you could hear a pin drop. Most of the customers in the cashier lines were regulars and our usual night cashiers were all staring at me, gobsmacked because I never raised my voice. I just shrugged and said he needed to hear it. My boss gives me a big hug with tears in her eyes and says thank you and says she will deal with any potential backlash that ensues, but none ever did. Now fast forward about 6 or 7 years, I'm no longer working at the retail store and don't live or work in that town on a regular basis anymore. I was now working for a corporate-owned gas station chain and had happened to be sent to help out one around the corner from my old place of business. I hear a car peeling into the parking lot and look up. Sure enough, I see a brand new red sports car. I thought, no way. I see a man get out and start walking in with a definite cock in his stride. He opens the door and I immediately yell out, "Hi Alan," with a big smile on my face. He stops dead, looks at me, face going white. He abruptly turns and runs back to his car and squeals out of the parking lot. The manager of the gas station looks at me and back out of the window and then back at me. What was that? I shrug. I guess I left a bigger impression on him the last time we met than I thought. And the next one is titled, Karen Demands Free Food. I work at a place that sells sandwiches and we deliver. Today we were extremely busy during the lunch rush and as a result delivery times were a little slow. We were making sandwiches as fast as we could, but there were simply too many orders. Our in-shop line, customers who come in and order at the counter, was literally out the door. On top of all of that, we were understaffed because 2 of our employees had quit. Instead of the 5-man sandwich making crew we should have had, it was 3 people and one of them was the new guy who started last week. He had to stop and ask what came on every sandwich. Eventually, we just put him on the register so that the other experienced employee and I could focus on making the orders. When it finally slowed down, the last few delivery orders were still on like a 40-minute wait, which is not even that crazy for delivery. Domino's often takes twice that when it's busy. A lady comes in and while she doesn't have the "Can I speak to your manager?" haircut, she's making a face. Anybody in the service industry knows the face. It's a total Karen. I know it's gonna be some BS right away, and Karen said, I ordered a delivery for 3 sandwiches and it never showed up. We are hungry and we've been waiting for an hour. Perfectly possible, it's been a hectic morning and mistakes happen. Me, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Can you give me the name and address on your order? Karen, it is Karen McFake name at some place. I pull up the order and have to really put in effort not to roll my eyes. Me, I see that you placed the order 27 minutes ago. Our driver left with it 5 minutes ago. Karen, well, he took too long and I had to leave work to come get it. You guys were not answering your phones. Not true, by the way. If we had stopped answering phones, the morning would not have been so hectic. Me, okay, well, we can make your order for you now and waive your delivery fee since you came to get it. Karen, what are you going to give me to make this right? I'm thinking, I said I would give you the food and the delivery fee. What the hell else do you want? Me, sorry, I'm not authorized to fully comp any meals. She huffs and then stands there at the counter while we make her food, which you're not supposed to do, since other people come in to order and we have a designated spot for picking up completed orders, but whatever, I don't say anything. We give her her food and she leaves, and I text the driver, telling him that he can skip that order and move on to the next one, since she already came and got it. Story should end there, right? You are wrong. 50 minutes later, we got a call asking where the delivery is and I get their name and address. I was very surprised to hear that it was Karen McFake name at the place that was mentioned before. Seriously, I double-checked twice. It was the same name and address, and now at first I thought that maybe someone else had overheard Karen's order and came to make a fake complaint and get free food. Me, oh, I'm so sorry, there must be some sort of mix-up. I just had a woman come in saying that it was her order, so we made her the food and cancelled the delivery. Karen screaming, "That was me! You said that the delivery driver was on the way. Where is he?" Me, let me get this straight. You came to pick up the food and I gave you the money for the delivery bag and gave you the food, but you were still expecting us to deliver it? Again? For free? Karen, yes. To make up for me having to leave work and get it. Me, miss, you didn't have to come and get your food, you chose to. It was already on its way. If you wanted it delivered, you should have waited for the driver. Karen no longer screaming, "Can I speak to your manager?" "Oh, you absolute fool, Karen. Don't you know? Me, I am the manager." Click. Guess she did not want to talk to the manager, huh? And the next one is titled, Karen Does It Again. So I work on a strawberry stand. I drive to the farm every morning and collect trays and trays of strawberries to sell for the day. It's about a 15-minute drive there, 15 back, and it helps expand the area the farm can sell at. The deal at my stand is 2 punnets are 5 pounds and 1 punnet is 3 pounds, and this is obviously to push the upsell a little. And by the way guys, I guess punnet means like a small box or something. Honestly, I have not heard that word before. Anyway, all is going well for the day, and then someone who I can only describe as Alpha Karen, AK, approaches the stand. AK, "1 punnet please, here's $2.50. OP, sorry, it is £3 a punnet. AK, but at the farm it's £2.50. These are the same strawberries, are they not? I proceed to explain that the extra 50 pence I occasionally get is for me. It helps towards collecting, selling, wages, petrol, the equipment, etc. I never thought it was a big deal. And then AK demands that because she knows the farm, I should sell it to her for her choosing beggar price. Now, I don't usually mind helping out if someone is short on change or something. However, this lady was just awful. So I was a little annoyed at this point. Me, I'm sorry, but if you want it for this price, you will have to go to the farm yourself. AK, I will tell my husband about this. AK actually storms over to her husband, throws the car keys at him, and demands that he drives the 15 minutes to the farm and 15 minutes back to pay 50 pence less for a damn punnet of strawberries. She waited at the pub opposite my stand and had a drink outside while staring me down for an awkward half an hour or so until her poor husband returned with the strawberries. I still cannot stop smiling. And yeah guys, I gotta say, I really feel bad for that husband, but I guess he made this decision himself. He should not have married a Karen. And by the way, no offense to all the lovely Karens in our story that are not related to these entitled idiots. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again tomorrow.